These pastors claim to serve God, but their private jets, mansions, and millions tell a very different story. What they're hiding will make you question everything you thought you knew about faith, money, and power. From Malawi to the United States, we're exploring the shocking fortunes of some of the richest and most controversial men of God. Fraud, scandals, even allegations of crimes. These aren't just stories of wealth. They're stories of influence, deception, and moral lines crossed. Some will shock you, some will anger you, and a few might make you wonder if faith has ever been about more than money. By the end of this video, you'll see the prosperity gospel like never before, and the truth behind the headlines of these global megachurch empires. Bishop Shepherd Bushiri. First up, Bishop Shepherd Bushiri, widely known as Major 1. Born in Malawi, Bushiri built the enlightened Christian Gathering Church into a multi-million-dollar empire, with Forbes estimating his net worth at around $150 million. His wealth isn't just church donations, it's diversified across oil, mining, transport, and real estate ventures. Bushiri doesn't just preach prosperity, he lives it. He openly declares men of God should be rich, and he makes sure the world sees it. Luxury cars, multiple private jets, designer suits, and opulent residences. To his followers, this is proof of divine favor. To his critics, it's a blatant display of greed. But behind the glamour lies controversy. Did you know that in 2019, South African authorities arrested Bushiri and his wife for fraud and money laundering, accusing them of misusing church donations to fund their lavish lifestyle? Instead of facing trial, Bushiri fled to Malawi, setting off a tense international standoff over extradition. Today, he remains a fugitive, with allegations that stretch from financial misconduct to sexual assault. Bushiri's rise and dramatic flight from justice highlights the seductive power and peril of the prosperity gospel, wealth as divine validation, and the public scrutiny that comes with it. And while Bushiri's story shocked an entire continent, it's not an isolated case. Across Africa, other charismatic pastors have walked a similar line, sometimes crossing it entirely. One of the most notorious is Nigeria's Apostle Timothy Omotoso, whose tale takes a far darker turn. Apostle Timothy Omotoso. Next, meet Timothy Omotoso, a Nigerian-born evangelist whose influence spread across South Africa. Known as the Angry Prophet, Omotoso built the Rivers of Living Waters Church, promising dramatic healings, miracles, and divine favor to his followers. His sermons were fiery, his presence magnetic, and his ministry grew into a sprawling international operation, supported by generous donations from devoted congregants. Omotoso's public persona, however, masked a terrifying reality. In 2019, he was convicted on multiple counts of rape and human trafficking. Accusers revealed a systematic pattern. He groomed underage girls under the guise of spiritual guidance, exploiting his pastoral authority to manipulate and control vulnerable victims. Beyond the courtroom, the scandal exposed the chilling power dynamics that can arise when faith, charisma, and money intersect. Despite his heinous crimes, Omotoso had accumulated considerable wealth, reportedly even flying a private helicopter for church business, projecting the image of both spiritual and financial success. The contrast between the miracle-working prophet on stage and the predator behind closed doors shocked South Africa and the wider world. Omotoso's downfall sent tremors through African charismatic churches, igniting urgent conversations about accountability, transparency, and the potential for abuse under the cover of ministry. Yet while some pastors fell dramatically from grace, others retained massive followings despite controversy, blending faith, spectacle, and wealth. One of the most famous examples of this, whose life was equally controversial yet markedly different, is Nigeria's late prophet T.B. Joshua. If you're as stunned as we are by what we've just uncovered, hit that like button and subscribe to dive deeper into the world where miracles, money, and scandal collide. Prophet T.B. Joshua. Then there's the late prophet T.B. Joshua, the Nigerian televangelist behind the Synagogue Church of All Nations. widely known as Scowen. At the peak of his influence, Forbes listed him among Nigeria's richest preachers, estimating his net worth at $10 to $15 million. That begs the question, are followers complicit in enabling these empires? Joshua drew tens of thousands of followers from across Africa and beyond, promising miraculous healings, visions, and divine interventions. His Lagos compound became a pilgrimage site, where believers flocked in hope of life-changing miracles. However, Joshua's ministry was not without controversy. In 2014, tragedy struck when a 6-story guest house at his church collapsed, killing 115 people, mostly South African pilgrims. Nigerian authorities sued Scowen for negligence, citing poor construction and lack of approvals. Joshua, however, deflected responsibility, blaming the disaster on foreign sabotage and calling the victims martyrs of faith, sparking outrage among grieving families and international observers. Beyond tragedy, critics scrutinized Joshua's lavish lifestyle and prosperity gospel teachings. He hosted elite conferences, promoted extravagant offerings, and reinvested wealth into his church empire, blurring the lines between faith, showmanship, and material success. Joshua's story is a stark example of how charisma, influence, and wealth can intersect with tragedy in megachurch culture. And while some ministers, like Joshua, faced criticism for their opulence and mismanagement, others took sensationalism to an entirely new level, claiming powers that defy death itself. One of the most infamous cases of this kind would soon shock social media. Bishop Alf Lukau. Bishop Alf Lukau. Next up is Bishop Alf Lukau, the Congolese-born pastor of Johannesburg's Alleluia Ministries. Lukau has built a reputation as a self-proclaimed prophet, with a flair for the dramatic, combining flamboyant wealth with show-stopping miracles. His church services are lavish affairs, often featuring extravagant stage setups, large revival gatherings, and a fleet of luxury cars, symbols of prosperity that reinforce his teaching that God blesses the faithful with riches. Lukau's notoriety reached a fever pitch in February 2019, when a video went viral showing him claiming to resurrect a man from a coffin. The footage shocked viewers worldwide, but the mortuary involved quickly refuted the claim, confirming that the man had been alive before the ceremony. The backlash was immediate. Social media erupted, journalists questioned the authenticity of his miracles, and religious authorities demanded accountability. Though Lukau has avoided direct legal or financial scandals, the incident highlights a broader pattern within the prosperity gospel. Spectacle and wealth are often inseparable, and attention, viral or otherwise, can translate into donations, influence, and power. His ministry thrives on the perception of divine favor, amplified by the very media storms that criticize him. And while Lukau's theatrics grabbed global headlines, other African megachurch leaders have built vast empires with less spectacle, but just as much influence. Leaders like Bishop Chris Oyakhilome, whose combination of media savvy, wealth, and faith has created one of the continent's largest church networks. Bishop Chris Oyakhilome. Chris Oyakhilome, the Nigerian televangelist behind Christ Embassy, has built a global megachurch network that reaches millions through television broadcasts, conferences, and online streaming. Forbes once estimated his personal net worth between $30 and $50 million, reflecting both the vast reach of his ministry and the wealth flowing through it. Did you know that in 2012, Oyakhilome faced legal scrutiny when Nigeria's Economic and Financial Crimes Commission investigated allegations that he laundered roughly $35 million of church funds into foreign accounts? He denied any wrongdoing, and the case was later dismissed due to insufficient evidence. Despite the lack of legal conviction, the episode spotlighted the opaque financial structures surrounding megachurch empires. Is wealth inherently sinful in ministry? Oyakhilome's teachings emphasize extreme prosperity and faith-based healing, with a strong focus on material blessing as proof of divine favor. His sermons and publications often highlight wealth, health, and influence as indicators of spiritual success, drawing in millions of followers who believe that generous giving results in personal blessings. Critics argue this mirrors a growing trend in global Christianity, where churches operate like high-powered corporations, lavish events, extensive media campaigns, and tax-exempt status, while transparency and accountability are often secondary concerns. Even though Oyakalomi's influence and fortune are striking, he is far from unique. Nigeria's landscape of megachurches features even larger networks, with leaders like Bishop David Oyedepo taking the prosperity message to grander scales, turning faith into an empire that extends well beyond the pulpit. Bishop David Oyedepo. David Oyedepo, the founder and presiding bishop of Living Faith Church worldwide, also known as Winners Chapel, is often cited as Africa's richest pastor. Forbes estimated his net worth at an astonishing $150 million, a figure that reflects not only his personal wealth, but the immense scale of his ministry. His flagship campus, Canaanland, covers a staggering 10,500 acres near Lagos and houses a 50,000-seat auditorium, universities, hospitals, and housing developments, creating what some describe as a small city built entirely around faith and philanthropy. Oyedepo insists that all church income serves broader social and educational purposes. He has repeatedly stated that the wealth generated is reinvested in schools, hospitals, and community projects, arguing that prosperity is a tool for societal impact. Yet critics question the ethics of amassing such vast resources in a country where millions live in poverty. Transparency concerns and the sheer concentration of donations have sparked debate about the role of megachurches in society and the fine line between spiritual leadership and financial empire building. Legally, Oyedepo has remained largely unscathed, avoiding scandal or criminal investigation, but his teachings on the prosperity gospel, emphasizing that God wants believers to be rich, remain highly controversial. While some see him as a visionary, others see a cautionary tale of wealth, influence, and unchecked spiritual authority. And as African megachurches continue to flourish, Oyedepo's lavish example sets the stage for leaders like Zimbabwe's Ubert Angel, whose modern take on prosperity preaching takes extravagance and spectacle to even newer heights. Pastor Ubert Angel. Ubert Angel, born in Zimbabwe, is the founder and leader of Spirit Embassy, a fast-growing ministry headquartered in Johannesburg, South Africa. Angel is known for preaching prosperity from unconventional platforms, most famously from a private helicopter, capturing headlines and the imaginations of followers worldwide. His sermons encourage believers to embrace wealth as a mark of divine favor, framing financial success as both a spiritual and moral achievement. Beyond the pulpit, Angel has built an impressive business portfolio, investing heavily in real estate, mining, and international ventures. Lavish displays of wealth, including luxury cars, private jets, and high-profile international events, have become a hallmark of his ministry, reinforcing the spectacle-driven approach to faith that defines modern prosperity preaching. Despite frequent media scrutiny, Angel has no formal convictions. Some reports suggest internal investigations into church finances and practices, but nothing has ever been substantiated in court. Critics argue that his high-flying lifestyle blurs the line between spiritual guidance and entrepreneurial showmanship, making his ministry as much a brand as a religious institution. Angel's approach reflects a broader trend among African megachurch leaders, using spectacle, wealth, and charisma to attract and maintain influence, while framing prosperity as a tangible blessing from God. This sets the stage for other church leaders, like South Africa's Bishop Ray Macaulay, whose ministry demonstrates a more institutionalized yet equally influential approach to faith, power, and societal impact. Bishop Ray Macaulay. Bishop Ray Macaulay, the leader of South Africa's Rhema Bible Church, is often credited with popularizing the prosperity gospel in Johannesburg. His church grew into a 45,000-member megachurch, complete with sprawling facilities, media outreach, and a church structure that resembled a corporate enterprise. Under Macaulay's leadership, Rhema became not just a spiritual hub, but a financial powerhouse, with income streams comparable to a mid-sized corporation. Critics have frequently scrutinized Macaulay for his extravagant lifestyle, including luxury cars and high-profile travel, combined with a lack of transparency in church finances. Despite these controversies, he has occasionally taken a moral stance, publicly condemning staged miracles and fraudulent practices in other ministries. This stance highlights a recurring tension in the world of megachurch leadership: the fine line between inspiring faith and exploiting followers for financial gain. Macaulay's story illustrates the broader dynamics of institutionalized prosperity preaching in South Africa, a system where immense influence, wealth, and charisma coexist with ethical scrutiny. His example demonstrates that even within high-profile ministries, some leaders wrestle with the moral responsibilities of their wealth and authority, creating cracks in the often monolithic facade of megachurch success. This complex balance of faith, fortune, and accountability finds a striking parallel in the United States, where Pastor Creflo Dollar's ministry demonstrates similar themes of wealth, influence, and controversy. Except on an international stage, Pastor Creflo Dollar. Across the Atlantic, Pastor Creflo Dollar, founder of Atlanta's World Changers Church International, became one of the most controversial figures in American televangelism. In 2007, Dollar launched Project G650, a fundraising campaign to purchase a $65 million Gulfstream jet, claiming it was essential for global ministry. The announcement sparked immediate outrage. Critics argued that using donations meant for spiritual work to finance private luxury was an extreme display of greed. Dollar defended the campaign, insisting the jet would allow him to reach international congregations more efficiently, but public perception framed it as exploitation of faithful followers. Dollar's teachings revolve around seed faith, the idea that financial contributions to the church bring divine blessings in return. This doctrine is a hallmark of the prosperity gospel, linking personal wealth with spiritual favor. While Dollar later softened some of his messaging and defended the principle of giving as a spiritual exercise, the G650 saga cemented his reputation as a symbol of the controversies surrounding modern megachurch wealth. His story exemplifies the global reach of the prosperity gospel, showing how charisma, influence, and unchecked financial power can spark outrage while maintaining devoted followings. The tension between luxury and faith that defined Dollar's ministry would later echo in other American churches, particularly those led by figures like Bishop Eddie Long, whose own ministry blended immense influence, controversy, and troubling allegations, continuing the pattern of wealth and power in faith. Bishop Eddie Long. Now we arrive at Bishop Eddie Long, the former pastor of Atlanta's New Birth Missionary Church, whose ministry became a cautionary tale of faith, power, and scandal. Long built a congregation of tens of thousands and amassed significant wealth through donations, real estate, and media outreach, living a lifestyle of luxury that included private jets, multiple mansions, and high-end cars. His public persona projected both spiritual authority and material success, a combination that earned him admiration and scrutiny. In 2010, Long faced devastating allegations when 4 young male congregants accused him of sexual abuse, coercion, and manipulation, often involving expensive gifts and promises of spiritual reward. The accusations sent shockwaves through the religious community and media, highlighting how unchecked pastoral authority can become a vehicle for exploitation. Long denied all wrongdoing, but the cases were quietly settled out of court, leaving his reputation deeply tarnished and exposing vulnerabilities in institutions that mix immense wealth with spiritual authority. The scandal surrounding Eddie Long serves as a stark reminder of the dark side of the prosperity gospel and megachurch culture. When leaders wield enormous influence alongside financial power, the potential for abuse, both ethical and criminal, grows exponentially. From Africa to the United States, the stories of pastors like Long, Creflo Dollar, and others reveal a troubling pattern. Faith, fame, and fortune often intersect in ways that test the moral limits of religious leadership. The high cost of megachurch wealth. Across continents, from Malawi to the United States, these 10 pastors share more than fame. They share a story of power, wealth, and controversy. Their ministries promised miracles, healing, and divine favor. But behind the headlines, we see a recurring pattern. Prosperity gospel teachings often blur the line between faith and financial spectacle. Some of them faced criminal charges, others scandals, and a few avoided legal scrutiny entirely. But the underlying question remains: when religious authority meets wealth unchecked, who is accountable? And while we've explored 10 of the most infamous cases, the world of controversial pastors is far from over. In fact, in our next video, the most shocking pastoral scandals you've never heard about.